I really like Bella's very disappointed in the title of this stream. To VOD viewers, I'm kind of shocked that I was able to get away with this on Twitch, because sometimes they censor you when you type swear words into the title. I don't know. I hope I don't get in trouble or anything. Local dipshit spreads his sheet for all to see, is what it says. I'm sorry that I had to poison the minds of VOD viewers with this, as well as the live viewers. Alerta, incoming Moselina update alerta. Is that really... How dare you alerta in my chat? We don't even have that emote. What do you mean? Oh, there's a ping. This like just happened. Moselina will release on the Switch on Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, 8 AM. The game will also receive a major update. What? Yeah, this was announced 15 minutes ago. Insane. So what's the update? This is actually kind of crazy. I can't believe it's coming to Switch. That's cool. Sorry, you guys are gonna have to sit there and listen to me watch through this trailer and see if I can glean. It might just be... Oh, it looks like No Grav looks different at the very least. It got like a graphical update. Okay. Oh, it looks like there's a new tool. I see a new tool. The hook. There's like a hook, like a grappling hook. Holy shit. There's gonna be another Moselina stream. Let's just say I'm gonna be Mosaing my Lena. Oh, and it looks like, oh man, it looks like there's new tools, and there's some kind of level editor thing that's usable on Switch. I don't know. Wow, well that's cool. That's cool. I didn't realize that because I didn't check Discord in the last 15 minutes. Everybody's speculating on the Discord. That's funny. Oh wait, but somebody's pointing out that old version of No Grav is still there, so the new No Grav is different? Anyway, sorry, Moselina speculation hour will be saved for another day. Welcome to the stream, everybody. This beautiful art is brought to you by Ejopal. Somebody said I really like the little guy. I like all these guys. These guys are my homies. I really... It's very creative how the tip of the fruit is used for a different part of each guy's face. One of them it's the nose, one of them it's the chin, one of them it's the top, one of them it's the side. Very cool. I really like this art. So thank you, Ejopal. Do a game explain Moselina trailer dissection. I'm probably one of the more qualified Moselina experts out there. I mean, there's certainly people who are better at the game than me, but I could do it, but that kind of content is so... I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say the S word. It's kind of slop. It's a little bit slop. It's like, just wait for the game home slice. You know what I mean? Anyway, you're listening to a song from the Flintstones live-action movie Super Nintendo game. It says on the box art, the only video game based on the blockbuster movie. They were really scrambling to find something to say about this game. It's the only Flintstones live-action movie video game. There aren't others. Wow, that makes me want to buy it. Apparently, the song was uploaded to YouTube by the guy who composed this song. And it says here, all of the pieces that were contributed to the Flintstones were never actually written for anything in particular. They were test tracks that I wrote whilst developing and debugging Medit. I don't know what Medit is. This is the song that plays on the password enter screen on the Flintstones SNES game, so maybe I'll have to check it out. The game's probably ass. I started playing Psychonauts today. Good. You're about to begin a magical journey. Yeah, I want to watch like a sitcom with these guys. You know what I mean? You can just read their personalities just by looking at them. Anyway, and I like the greenery of the fruit being used as a beard too. It's genius. It's genius. It consistently blows me away that anybody makes fan art for the channel, and that so many talented people are doing things at such regular intervals. We get so much cool fan art, so I really appreciate it, guys. Okay, we're gonna do more reviews today. Might be a bit of a shorter stream. I just want to get through the FromSoft stuff, and then maybe we'll do a little Humongous Entertainment lightning round, because really a lot of them are quite similar. And I probably could just give like blanket statements about most of them and then rank them based on personal preference and nostalgia. We're gonna listen to Planet Dob music. Sorry if you're sick of Planet Dob music, but it's just so good, and it's like striking gold when you're a YouTuber and you need music to use in your videos, and you find like a 10 out of 10 album that's really long and will not get copyright claimed, and also is like a based underground pick. Also, a lot of it's more, it's not ambient, but it's more low-key, so I think somebody last time was kind of like, you know, the music's a little overbearing sometimes, and I kind of get that with some songs that are just a little more melodious, I guess, whereas this is just like, we're just chilling out. Big Yellow from YouTube. Wait, Big Yellow rated? Holy shit! The color? The real color? That's insane. That's funny. Shoutouts to Big Yellow. I've been, you know, Big Yellow is one of the very few streamers I watch live. Like, when Big Yellow is live, I'm like, holy shit, poggers. And I pog my pants a little bit. Oh, Carl Sagan actually just went live, I think, too. Speaking of streamers I like. Oh, he's been live for an hour. Sadly, he quit. He stopped his month of Isaac playing. He backed out of doing it, which is a shame. But he did play a lot of Isaac. I'm full. Let's just say I'm full. I'm smiling. I'm rubbing my big belly. Thank you, Big Yellow. That's very kind of you. We're gonna you rated on a great stream where the entire stream is gonna be static image of a spreadsheet as I yap about games. Anyway, let's just get right into it. Bloodborne, baby. Everybody knows Bloodborne slaps. I kind of feel like, are there Bloodborne haters? I've heard people talk shit about all three of the original Dark Souls trilogy, but like, does anybody dislike Bloodborne? It's not perfect, but I think everybody knows they cooked super hard with this one. It's like, it's got all the sauce of the Souls series. I think it's got Dark Souls 1 and 3 sauce. Maybe it's got Dark Souls 2 sauce in there. I don't know what that even means, but I think subconsciously you may know what I mean. It looks a lot like Dark Souls 3, and I actually honestly really like the visual style of Dark Souls 3. I've often wondered, you know, I think Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne probably had a significant overlap in the development periods. That's just an assumption. I have no evidence to back that up, but the vibes are very similar, and I wonder even if they maybe, like, cheekily reused some, like, assets here and there. Or at least certainly animations. Yeah, right? Somebody said I've never heard anything negative about Bloodborne, and it's true. This is true, because Bloodborne is based. Excuse me. It's basically, when I think things that I would like FromSoft to do in the future, I think about things like Bloodborne and Sekiro. Spoiler alert, I like Elden Ring. I played the shit out of Elden Ring. I really loved it. But I kind of felt like I would be sad if this was the direction that FromSoft was going to take from now on. And I think Miyazaki issued a statement at a certain point that was like, Okay, this is the most useless bit of information because I don't remember what the statement was, but Miyazaki said at one point, like, we are either going to keep making games like Elden Ring or not ever do that again. Does anybody remember which one it is? Local Man comes up with the most useless factoid of all time. One time Miyazaki said something, and I don't remember what he said. Oh, I love this song. Chatter put it very well when they said, I hope they will not ever do that again. Yeah, and like the other FromSoft reviews, these are all going to kind of like bleed into each other a little bit. A lot of it, the future of FromSoft games, I think, is kind of shaky and uncertain right now. Maybe I'm crazy. It's like Elden Ring made it huge. And there's recently, yesterday, I think they announced there's going to be an Elden Ring movie. And we got this whole thing with Elden Ring, Night Rain. I don't know how I feel about that one. And then fucking Dust Blood. What is it called? Dusk Bloods? I almost said Dust Blugs. Which is a Switch exclusive, and I was really excited to see it. And then they were kind of like, oh, by the way, it's like a PvP focused thing. And I was like, huh? No, make it a real, just make it a normal FromSoft game. I have to say that a lot of the upcoming FromSoft Souls-like stuff, I'm not very excited about. And I wasn't even really that excited about Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring kind of like exactly met my medium expectations, frankly. But I really wish they had kept going in the direction of make games that are like Dark Souls, but have like a totally different vibe to them. Vibe maybe is the wrong word, like visual aesthetic, like Bloodborne, like Sekiro, you know, different, like shake up the mechanics and kind of move forward from just making medieval fantasy type shit, you know. I'm gonna refrain from using the word slop. Yeah, Duskbloods, somebody said Duskblooks being multiplayer kind of drained all the hype out of it. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Gray, for the comment where I complained about your rankings of SA2 and Kirby DL3. I wasn't expecting you to respond to it. It's fine. I forgive you. Somebody said, like, oh, he rated Sonic Adventure 2 low for how much he enjoyed it, and Kirby's Dream Land 3 high for how much he hated it. But, and I know I'm not trying to, like, rag on this person. I think most of my rankings here are pretty accurate, and, like, I don't know, what streams were you watching that you think I enjoyed Sonic Adventure 2 the whole time? Like, Bella and I were dead inside by the time we were done playing that game. We just wanted it done. But, you know, both cool games in their own right. Every game has things to like. Anyway, Bloodborne's great. Super cool style. I love the Victorian fantasy vibe. All the vampires and werewolves are super hella chiller. I love the gameplay. Everybody's talked to death about how Bloodborne kind of encourages aggression and fast-paced action gameplay instead of, you know, Dark Souls games every once in a while could encourage, whether intentionally or not, turtling and being, you know, some people are members of the Turtle Club in the Dark Souls community. And it's not to say that that's like an unfun way to play the game necessarily, but I really enjoy the fast, frenetic, quick-paced combat in Bloodborne. And they cooked so hard with the gun parry. It's like when I first heard, it's like you don't parry with a shield in Bloodborne. You parry by shooting people. I was like, that sounds dumb as shit. And then you play the game and you're like, yeah, that was dumb as shit. And awesome. It works really well. I've never used another gun in Bloodborne besides the blunderbuss. I'm just now like realizing this. But man, the blunderbuss is all you need. There's not a lot of guns in Bloodborne, I think. There's just a few. And some of them are just for like blood tinge builds, or as I like to call them, blood cringe builds. One moment. You heard that snot. I gotta mute. Yeah, trick weapons are so cool. I love the way that they condensed the amount of equipment bloat that's in, you know, the Dark Souls series, in a really smart way. It was like, there's fewer weapons, but they do more things. Every weapon is more versatile. That's such a great idea. It's kind of shocking that they didn't keep doing that, frankly. There are so many reasons. It's like, I'm not the kind of guy who loves to clamor for sequels necessarily, because it's kind of like a great game comes out and you play it and it's like, wow, that enriched my life. And a lot of times I'm not like hungry for more of it. But I think a big reason, like I'm kind of a like Bloodborne 2 when kind of guy. And I kind of think a lot of it is just because there are so many good ideas in Bloodborne that they could totally iterate on more, but they just kind of didn't. And that's fine. Again, like, a sequel not happening isn't the biggest crime in the world, and who knows, we may eventually get Bloodborne 2. But frankly, I mean, Duskbloods showing up is kind of like the Bloodborne 2 equivalent of, like, someone getting a Mii costume in Super Smash Bros. Does that make any sense at all? It kind of feels like a soft deconfirmation of ever getting a Bloodborne 2. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there will be one, but it just kind of feels like Duskbloods being a thing kind of soft deconfirms it. I don't know. Wholly apt. Anyway, Bloodborne is Demon's Souls 2, though. Joopy, shut up. Sorry, I feel like I have permission to be rude to Joopy, even though I totally don't. Even though I don't mean it, though. It's kind of liberating just saying shut up to a specific chat member, though. Anyway. Yeah, right, somebody said that's the we would if we could. It really does feel like they maybe wanted to follow up Bloodborne, but like, I have to, my imagination runs wild with the possibilities of, like, is Sony just being, like, an abusive copyright holder? Like, do they somehow have FromSoft's balls within their grasp? I don't know. Grapefruit's still not over the urethra video. Somebody said he treats Joopy like a villain. It's like Joopy is like his arch enemy. You have to wonder if it's because of Sony that there's not some sort of follow-up to Bloodborne, because Bloodborne was so beloved, and it's such a tragedy that, like, there's no other ports. I know everybody on the planet has talked about this. Now, I personally don't even need Bloodborne HD. I would just love to see a PC port. And then all the nerds who are like, yeah, Bloodborne's like fucking unplayable because it's 30 frames per second. And for some reason, it being 60 FPS would be better. To such a degree that, like, I'm gonna make it my entire personality to complain about it. It's like, if it came to PC, people could just, like, mod the game, and all the 60 FPS nerds could just shut up about it. If they brought it to PC, they would probably patch it. But I've heard so much, like, hearsay about Bloodborne, where some people, like, modders have been like, yeah, Bloodborne's, like, something about the way Bloodborne is programmed means it would actually be extremely difficult to make a 60 FPS patch for it. That being said, there is one, so someone managed to do it. I don't know if that's just, like, complete horse shit, what I heard about, like, they just didn't account for the idea that it should ever, like, run at 60 FPS, but somebody, I think somebody did make a 60 FPS patch, and I think it got taken down or something. Anyway, what else to say about Bloodborne? Amazing style, amazing music, great bosses, the combat is so fun. Is such a replayable game. I think this is one, like, it kind of sits in the same spot as Dark Souls 3 for me, where it's like each playthrough of it isn't necessarily gonna be like super different depending on what build you go with, but it's just so fun. It's just such a compelling game, and like getting better at it feels so good. I remember after we did Bloodborne, which was my first time playing the game, was on stream, I just did like a casual, I didn't do New Game Plus. I never do New Game Plus in any of these games, which maybe makes me a pussy. Oh, I didn't even mention in Dark Souls 2 the New Game Plus changes. That's a cool thing about Dark Souls 2. Just copy paste that into the previous stream. I remember right after we did the streams, I did another run of just, you know, New Game Not Plus, and I remember you guys just have to take my word for it, I fucking slaughtered the game. Like, I just destroyed most of it. I think I got stuck on certain parts here and there, but it was like, even Orphan of Kos was like relatively easy, because it was just like I had the muscle memory down from the previous. That's one of the benefits. Sometimes you play a game and you're just, it's like King Neptune eating the Krabby Patty, and he chews it up and he spits it out and he's like, I think I'll eat it again. That's what I did with Bloodborne, and it was so fun and satisfying. And you know, these games also benefit from replaying, because you sort of understand the story better every time you go through it. And maybe some of it is just that you're like making up headcanons and stuff. That's like kind of part of the fun of the stories of these games, is that you can insert your own theories and details, and sort of your imagination makes up part of the story in a way. But you kind of comprehend stuff more and more each time you play one of these games. So, super substantial game, very replayable. I would also like to say the Dark Souls series in general, but in particular Bloodborne, has some of the most delectable jank that I've ever experienced in my life. I still think if anything Bloodborne related ever gets announced, like some sort of port, or an HD remaster, or a sequel, I have hours of footage of insane Bloodborne jank that I would like to edit into a video for the main channel. I've just never really had... It would be quite an undertaking, because there's so much footage to go through, and I would need the motivation of, like, Bloodborne being relevant again to do it. I'm sorry if that's, like, overly cynical. I really try not to algorithm max on my channel too much, because I think it's just kind of a... It's kind of a quicksand pit that you can fall into at times, where it's like, no, I'm relevant, as I slowly begin to transform into a corn cob. But I just don't really want to, I don't want to dedicate the amount of time that it would take to make it right now. But anyway, what else to say about Bloodborne? I keep inserting L's. What else can I say about Bloodborne? It's like, man, even the title of the game looks good. The way the D and the B nestle up against each other like that, it's kind of hot. I think, let's talk flaws, because there are some. Why the hell do lanterns work the way that they do? This was especially obnoxious, I hear, when the game was unpatched. Because the load times used to be extremely long, and it wasn't like you could, you know, run it on your really good PC and reduce the load times because it's a PS4 exclusive, haha. I don't get what benefit it adds to the game having you only be able to do, like, leveling and stuff when you warp back to the hub world. Like, I don't get why they couldn't have had some options available, at least warping from one lantern to another lantern, because it's like when you want to warp anywhere in Bloodborne, you have to warp back to the hub world and then warp to where you want to go. And I just think that was kind of sloppy. I don't really know why would you do that? I just don't get what, sometimes this is something I repeat many times when doing these review streams, it's like sometimes there'll be a flaw in a game where I'm just like, genuinely, what were they cooking? What does this add to the game? I don't understand. But like, you could argue it adds something maybe if you're a very specific and exotic type of guy, but I don't care for it. I also think there could have been some adjustments made to the blood vials and silver bullets, quicksilver bullets system. Everybody who's ever played Bloodborne, has anybody ever just not ever run out of blood vials or bullets at any point in any of their Bloodborne playthroughs? I think it's an issue for like every single person when they, at the very least, when they start up Bloodborne and you're kind of struggling. It's like, who hasn't run out of blood vials? And then it's like, grinding for blood vials is such a painfully boring experience. I don't get what that adds to the game. And the thing is, I do sort of enjoy the system that they have going in that game, because the whole aspect where you can kill enemies and sort of, it adds longevity to each life. Because in the Dark Souls series, it's like, oh, you drink an Estus. Dark Souls 2 had life gems, which were kind of different, but it's like, oh, you drink an Estus, and then it's just like, well, that resource is permanently used up until you rest at a bonfire. So you're kind of just like deteriorating slowly over time until you need to like go to a bonfire again. Whereas in Bloodborne, it's like you can have a lot of longevity to your individual lives if you're, you know, good enough to not die frequently, because you can keep picking up those blood vials and you can keep picking up quicksilver bullets to sort of extend your resource pool without having to go back to the hunter's dream, which is cool. That sort of goes hand in hand with the weird lantern teleport system. But I kind of think, again, I know I sound like a broken record, but what would it have ruined about the game if they had just kept that system, but they just refill all your blood vials and all your quicksilver bullets when you revive? Like, what would have been so bad about that if that had happened, rather than them being a consumable that you need to stockpile? Also, the fact that they increase in price, they like scale in how many blood echoes you need to buy them over the course of the game. That fucking sucks. Like, it just sucks having to, like, because it's like, oh, I got stuck on some, like, DLC boss and drained all my blood vials, and now I need to go, like, farm the pigs in the Nightmare of Mensis for, you know, like, 20 minutes to be able to play the game again. I don't know. So those are my biggest complaints about it. I really don't think, like, it's really a fucking fantastic video game, though. I think, again, that I would rank it right alongside Dark Souls 3. I think I would give it a 9.5, and I would absolutely recommend it. I would even maybe say, oh, I am on the wrong account again. I would even maybe say this is the one game that you could potentially go into before Dark Souls 1. Oh god, it's this song. This song is very, like, wigglecore. I can't even imitate it. Yeah, that sound. Okay, fantastic, fantastic game. It is a shame that it's locked to the PS4, but it's not the end of the world. It was a bit of a pain in the ass when the PS4 was, like, the most modern system. But now it's like, yeah, you can pick up a PS4 for, I don't know, maybe like $100. How much is a used PS4? Actually, I don't know. Anyway, Sekiro. Let's get on to Sekiro. Now, I did not even finish this game. I think quite highly of this game. I have my issues with it, but it really got to a point. The first playthrough of it was just, like, botched. And at a certain point, I was like, man, I'm just not enjoying this, and it's so frustrating, and it was too hard for me, man. I know I'm gonna get my balls nailed to the wall for this one, but at about halfway, it was like the first, like, maybe 10 hours of playing Sekiro, I was like, this is the best game ever made. And then at a certain point, it was like I just started hitting that wall with so many bosses, And for whatever reason, it was just more frustrating than it is in Dark Souls to die to a boss over and over again. I think the specific moment that broke me was Genichiro on top of like Ashina Castle, where halfway through the boss fight, it's like the first half of the boss fight is no joke, and then after you've beaten his first health bar, he respawns with a second health bar, more difficult, and they tutorialize a new gameplay mechanic. I know probably people have heard me rant about this in the past, but this was like upsetting to me. Was they were like, oh yeah, just in the middle of this pitched, like heated, difficult boss battle, time to learn this new mechanic. Hope you're not too busy, you know, fighting the fucking boss, and you can read this text blurb on the side of the screen that says, when he does a lightning attack at you, you need to jump in the air to intercept it, and hold down the attack button, and then release the button when you hit the ground to return the lightning at him. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Why couldn't you have tutorialized this literally anywhere else so that I would know what the hell was happening, and then I could, like, use this information here and feel like a badass? I don't know. I want to play this game again. I want to give it a second chance. I think it's a really cool game. Honestly, a lot of my issues with it kind of just are similar issues to Elden Ring in a weird way. But I think there were many things that were botched about that first playthrough. One, I tried to do it with Lark, but Lark went on vacation to Australia for like 2 weeks right at the start. So I was like, I'm not waiting for Lark. I'm just gonna like play it alone for a long time. And then it was like Lark came back and did some streams later, and he was of course totally unprepared. It was like, I'm struggling and I've been playing the game the whole time. Lark has missed out on huge swaths of game, and so he was just like wholly unprepared, and I don't blame him at all. So there was that factor. It was like, I remember very specifically when we quit playing, it was because I was like, Lark, do you want to just go play Bully instead? I'm not really having fun. Do you want to go play Bully instead? That's how we got the Bully stream, which Bully was ass, but whatever, it was funny. But I think also just my mentality going into Sekiro was so wrong. I think whenever a new Souls-like comes out, don't listen to a fucking word people say about it. Because there was so many people going like, oh, Sekiro, it's totally different. It's not a Souls game, okay? All it is you have to parry everything perfectly. The health bars don't matter. It's a rhythm game. And it's like, I should have played it more like a Dark Souls game. Like, because I heard everybody being like, oh yeah, like leveling isn't a thing. Wrong. Leveling is a thing. It helps you if you are struggling. If you're struggling on a big boss, you should go around and kill a bunch of mini bosses and collect their prayer beads. It literally makes you more powerful. It will make the game easier. Yes, I know, I'm the biggest scrub on the planet because I did damage to the boss rather than just parrying every attack and doing the fucking, like, what do they call it? The, like, stomp on the stab attacks. But I really should have played it more like Dark Souls, unironically. And I know it's like, everybody at the time was like, it's not like Dark Souls, mate. Why is Trump telling me this? Hold on, I got a cough. Anyway. So, let's talk, like, the actual qualities of the game, though. I love the style. I love this sort of fantastical, feudal Japan kind of Japanese mythology, yokai kind of vibe. I think a big thing that was a letdown for me in this game was... And this was kind of, I know it's like take a shot every time Grapefruit mentions like duplicate bosses being a downside of a game. But truly, this was the beginning. This was like, you know, patient zero for the Elden Ring unique bosses issue. Why does like almost every boss in this game have like 5 different encounters? That's exaggeration, but it's like, again, that first like those first few sessions going around in Sekiro and just being like, oh my god, like there's so many cool bosses just everywhere around every corner, there's so much to explore, so much to discover. And then it's like in the second half of the game, it's like, man, I love exploring and discovering a bunch of copies of bosses that I've already fucking seen. And I know to some people this is just like not an issue, it's like kind of just a me thing or like my type of guy sort of thing, but I just don't like it. I really prefer, and I know also that whenever I say this, people go, oh, well, the Souls games also have duplicate bosses. But Sekiro and Elden Ring did it so much more, to the point where it was like, in the Souls games, it's like there's more unique bosses than duplicate bosses. In Sekiro and Elden Ring, the amount of actually unique bosses can be counted on like one hand, I feel. Which is insane, especially for Elden Ring, because Elden Ring has so many bosses, but so many of them. It's like they just, I don't know if it's some kind of like, the developers are like, well, what are we gonna do? We're gonna spend all this development time and resources on making this boss, and then they just kill them once and then it's done? What the hell is that? That's, you know, we gotta get our money's worth off of this thing. I don't know. I don't know if it's like, Elden Ring in particular, it really feels like they were like, oh no, some invisible imaginary guy is holding a gun to my head and making me make this the biggest game ever, so I need to fill it with a bunch of like copy-paste slop. And it's like, oh wait, that guy with the gun didn't exist, you just did this to yourself for no reason, cool. You know, like I always hear people say, when I bring this up again, especially in regards to Elden Ring, like, oh, you know, how are they gonna make a game that big and not have some reused content? And I'm like, who the hell was forcing them to make the game that big? Like, just make the game smaller, LMAO. Why did Elden Ring need to be like 120 hours long, you know? And yes, somebody said most refights have something to differentiate them. There's some that I don't mind. I think it's like the headless fights in Sekiro, those were pretty cool, and I don't mind those as much because it's kind of like each time you fight headless, it's got some sort of different environmental thing that makes the fight different. But I'm gonna be honest, it's like, why were there two Snake Eyes Shirahiji? Why are there two Shichimen Warrior? Why do you fight the monkey twice? And the second time you fight the monkey, there's two monkeys. It's like, what a joke. And even also, it's just, I don't know. The Dark Souls games and Bloodborne have such iconic moments, and it's just like moments that just stick out in my mind, you know? And I've I've said this before as well. What if you like got to Ornstein, like think of how iconic and cool and awesome Ornstein and Smaug are in the first Dark Souls. Now imagine if by the time you fought them, you've already fought some other boss in the same arena, and also you've already fought 5 Ornsteins and 2 Smaugs separately. You know, and it's like, oh, well, now I'm fighting Ornstein and Smaug. This is like the millionth time I've seen these guys. It's kind of how the Godskin duo feels in Elden Ring in a way. Where it's like, do we need to reuse these arenas so much? Do we need to reuse these bosses so much? Or could you just have it... I think it takes a certain amount of, like, restraint and dignity and swag to make a boss encounter just be something that just happens once, and then it's just a cool thing that just happens, and then it's done. I don't know, something, and I swear I won't just rant about this forever, but it's something that really bugs me. It's like, it was really disappointing playing through these games every time I found a duplicate boss, where I'm just like, isn't part of the excitement of finding a new boss battle finding a new boss battle instead of just the same guy I've already fought before? I don't know. Anyway, I like the combat in general in Sekiro. The big thing that tripped me up was the, like, danger moves. The one where, like, the red kanji appears above your enemy's head. and you need to make this like split second, because everybody's always like, oh, you know, if you're bad at Sekiro, just think of it like this. It's a rhythm game. And it's like, yeah. Going ting, 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 ting is not the hard part for me. The hard part is when the red kanji appears and it goes doom, and it's like, oh, I need to really quick think about which part of the rock, paper, scissors of like swipe moves, stab moves, and grab moves I need to, like, there's a certain reaction that works well for any of those, and you need to do it in like a split second, and you need to be able to tell from the enemy who's holding the sword or whatever what they're about to do. And it's like sometimes the difference between a swipe and a stab, it's not super easy to read, especially some enemies I think kind of deliberately obfuscate it, you know? So that was something that was the thing that really kept frustrating me in the end, was like, I just felt like my reaction time, like straight up, I'm just not built for it. And again, I'll try this game again at some point, and maybe I'll, you know, change my mind on some of these things, but it's kind of like, you know, you can't let your second playthrough of a game override your opinion of what happened in the first playthrough. You just let it influence it, you know. But, anyway, you can't upload an hour-and-a-half video and then stream an hour later. Hey, I waited a long time, okay? Sometimes I upload a video and then just instantly start streaming. Maybe that's unwise, but it's like, my streamers get like 100 to 200 viewers on average, so I'm really not. And you'll watch it later. I know you'll watch it later. But anyway, Sekiro, cool combat. I really like the whole aspect. I sort of talked about it derisively earlier, but I do like the whole aspect where technically the health bar of the opponent doesn't matter. And, well, it does matter, but it's not necessary to, like, drain all their health. You know, a lot of it's about sort of momentum and about breaking their poise, which is cool. And that's something they kind of, in a weird way, carried into Elden Ring as well. And I like all the boss designs, I like all the environments, I like the cool encounters, I like the big snake. You know, there's a lot of really cool stuff. Great atmosphere. I like the guns. I like that there's guns in it, but in this very sort of like feudal Japanese kind of sense. But yeah, I couldn't get through it. And I mean, I could have. Here's the thing, you know, whenever you give up on a game, most of the time it's like, it's not necessarily that you can't do it, it's just that the annoyance that you're feeling at not currently being able to do it overrides your desire to see the end, basically. So, again, I will try it again someday. I would love to give it another shake, because it is a really, really cool game. But I do think, even beyond the fact that, like, I suck too much to be able to, like, beat the fucking game, apparently, I do think I have some, like, legitimate issues with it, mainly just the copy-paste bosses. It's just like, man, the second half of this game is, like, so weak in comparison, just in terms of that kind of, discovery and excitement, you know? Anyway, I'll give it a yes. I mean, you heard me talk for the last 10 minutes, so, you know, that's, like, kind of a weird tentative yes. Yeah, and the grappling hook and the platforming, that's cool too. What are we giving this one? I'll give it like an 8 or something, I don't know. Again, the number is personal level of enjoyment, not objective quality of the game. So, I don't think I can give it like a fucking 10 out of 10 when I didn't even beat the game. Okay. Elden goddamn Ring. Okay. This is a very cool game. I've talked about it plenty in talking about the other Souls games. I kind of think, in a weird way, it's like I played so much of it, and I do love this game, but in a weird way, it's kind of my least favorite of all the FromSoft Souls-likes that I've played so far. Maybe better, maybe I like it more than Dark Souls 2, but, and that's funny because a lot of people say that Dark Souls 2 and Elden Ring share many qualities, and I agree. So everything I said about repeat bosses in Sekiro absolutely applies in Elden Ring. This was another one. I don't like the open world. I don't like it. And there were certain, playing it for the first time, it's like, wow, you open the fucking Breath of the Wild door and you look out at the Breath of the Wild view and you're like, wow, this is so cool and epic. I can just go anywhere. This is awesome. But in the end, it kind of just dilutes the game, in my opinion. And a lot of what I love about the Souls games and about Bloodborne and such is like interesting, sort of tight, maze-like Metroidvania environments. And you kind of lose that with Elden Ring. Like, there's occasional, I guess this is what people call legacy dungeons. There's occasional legacy dungeons, but even they don't hit the same. And it's kind of like, I don't know, just think about the different areas and different like castles and dungeons and stuff in Dark Souls 1 and how they all have such a different look and feel to them. And then it's like every castle in Elden Ring feels exactly the goddamn same. Like, I guess with a couple exceptions, but it's like whenever you find a fort or a castle, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be the same exact like assets, just reconstructed in a different way, and also with a ton of enemies that I've already seen and a boss that I've probably also already seen. How many fucking times do you fight Leonine Misbegotten in this godforsaken game, for instance? And that's just something where I don't, it's like, on the surface level, Elden Ring has so much that is extremely similar to the Dark Souls series. But there's so many things about Dark Souls that I love that are not as present in Elden Ring. There's still plenty of stuff, you got the same kind of like storytelling and approach to lore and world building that's definitely cool. But just in terms of the actual like layout of the game, I really don't care for the open world, and I think I would have enjoyed it much more if it was basically just Dark Souls 4, which I know a lot of people call it Dark Souls 2, a lot of people call it Dark Souls 4, Slop of the Wild, sure, chat. So, yeah, it was kind of like, and I talked about this one in like the last stream of Elden Ring, where I was like, I kind of had a revelation, I had an epiphany of, what am I really doing here? Like, am I basically just exhibiting brand loyalty? Like, again, I enjoyed the game, so of course it's not just pure brand loyalty. Yes, it's got that fun combat. I really like the combat, honestly, in Elden Ring. Extremely difficult late game bosses aside that kind of have weird balance issues. I really enjoy it's like the addition of the jumping attacks. We brought back, classic Dark Souls parrying systems. I love all the shit with like the Ashes of War that you can apply to different weapons to give them special properties. The weapon variety is crazy. It's, it's definitely got a lot of bloat. It's the opposite of the Bloodborne, like, streamlined approach. But there were just a lot of things about Elden Ring where I was like, why am I really here? What are we doing here? And especially as like Dark Souls as a series. So yeah, and it's not to say that the open world aspect of it is entirely wasted on me. Like, I did experience certain amounts of joy of discovery in a different way in the open worlds, for sure. And it's kind of got that Zelda 1-esque quality where it's like, oh, I just found like a random cave behind a bush here that just leads to a whole area, but it's like, what's in that area? Reused cave assets and a reused boss, probably. It's just gonna be like a strong enemy with a health bar. So it's like, it's got that sense of discovery, but also, is it that strong when what you're discovering is gonna be mostly shit you've already seen before? Somebody's like, can we shut the hell up and just hear him talk about Bejeweled 2 Scoop Away? It's been looking at us. It's been looking at us this whole time. The kitty litter version of Bejeweled 2. So, you know, I'm almost kind of sick of talking about Elden Ring. You've probably heard, if you're watching this, you've probably watched at least some Larkin Ring. You've probably heard me dispense opinions on the game here and there. And, you know, the DLC is cool too, but it's basically just an extension of the game. Like, it has a lot of the same issues. It's definitely got that, like, majestic factor. It's got that wow factor, but that doesn't really outweigh the problems that the wow factor ushers in. So I really hope that in the future they don't make more open world games. It was a cool experiment, and there's a lot cool about it. A lot of cool bosses, a lot of cool enemy designs, a lot of interesting, you know, neat moments, but there was a lot that let it down. So I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, recommend, and give it like an 8. I don't know, maybe 8, but let's give it an 8.5. Cool game. I'm kind of sick of talking about it at this point, which is why maybe this review is like a little bit brief compared to the others. But you probably know my feelings about this game more or less without me having to tell you super hard. Yeah, we'll have to see more about Duskbloods before we make any real assertions. But I've kind of got my hopes low. And honestly, this is something that might be a little bit spicy. Even if Duskbloods turns out to be, by some miracle, a pure, you know, mostly single-player focused action-adventure game, you know, with a structure similar to Dark Souls or Bloodborne, that doesn't have open-world elements and doesn't have a PvP focus, I still am not that excited for it, because looking at it, it's just kind of like, this just like looks quite a bit like Elden Ring. Like, it's got some new stuff. It's got the like sort of steampunk looking technology stuff here and there, but really more or less it kind of just looks, I hate how in Elden Ring it kind of felt like FromSoft just took all the vibes and aesthetics of their previous games and just like put it into a blender and just like chopped it up and made like slop. They made slop out of it, to put a term to it. Whereas it's like looking at games like, you know, Dark Souls just in a vacuum, or Bloodborne or Sekiro, it's like, damn, they like lampooned a style there. And like, it's a really distinctive style that really stands out. And I'm not particularly excited about Duskbloods because it kind of just looks like another one where it's like, yeah, they put every previous game into a blender and hit Ice Crush for 10 seconds. I don't really like that. I would love it if they just took it in an extremely bold new aesthetic direction. But that's just me. Anyway, with that, I think we are done. Let me talk a little bit actually about summons in Elden Ring. This is a topic of much debate. Now, don't let anybody ever tell you that you're not supposed to use summons in Elden Ring. That's just stupid. Like, it just makes no sense. It's like, yes, Miyazaki accidentally tripped and spilled coffee on his keyboard and accidentally distinctly programmed in like 50 spirit summons for you to use and fully fleshed out the mechanic. But then he was like, oh yeah, but you're not supposed to use them. You know, it's like, that's stupid. And it definitely, I think he said in an interview at one point, he was like, yes, dipshits, the bosses are structured around the idea that you have a summon. Like, we took it into account. We absolutely designed bosses with the idea of using summons in mind. And so I will, on one hand, defend, I will white knight for people who use summons like myself, but I also kind of do think it was a bit of a misstep, because I think it sort of takes away from the compelling nature of Souls combat to have it be like a group fight, where there's people on your team and there's people on the opposing team. It kind of takes away from the sense of, I don't know, accomplishment when you beat a boss. And it's, you know, these games, the accomplishment is part of the package. It's not the entire thing. There's certainly plenty of times where you can overcome a difficult boss without feeling like you necessarily became a god gamer, you know, in the previous games. But there were just so many encounters where I was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, we can just distract the boss with the spirit summons, but then if you want to do it without the spirit summons, a lot of them are like really crushingly difficult to the point where it just feels like the game wasn't even designed to be played that way, you know? I mean, how many people complained about Margit, the Fell Omen, right when the game came out? Because he's like the first major boss that you find, and so many people were just like totally overwhelmed. Like, it's like looking back, you know, he's not particularly aggressive or oppressive, but for a first-time Elden Ring player, it's like, damn, like, how the hell am I supposed to manage this guy on my own? And then the advice for so many people was, go talk to Ranni and get the 3 wolves summons, and then you'll be fine, you know? It almost feels like, you know, the game is trying to encourage you to use the spirit summons in that way, because so many of the bosses are just so aggressive, and it's just like, just stop attacking me for like 1 second, like, when am I supposed to get a hit in? And I think the answer, genuinely, a lot of the time is, you're supposed to get a hit in while they're distracted looking at your fucking mimic tier. Now, I know every boss in Elden Ring can be completed without using summons, I'm aware. You can do it without summons at fucking, like, Elden level 1 with your toes on a Guitar Hero controller and, you know, while being throttled by Dracula. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm aware, but it feels like for most, like, normal people, the average gamer, you're gonna want to use the summons. And I kind of think it's kind of a sloppy design in a way, and I don't mean sloppy in that way. It's just kind of, there are fuzzy edges to the difficulty in this game that I'm not a huge fan of. Fuzzier than normal. You know, in the previous games, it's like, you know, of course, build variety, what level you're at, all that stuff can affect how difficult a boss is for you, but it feels like a lot more of a coin toss in Elden Ring, where it's like, oh, you know, well, did the boss get distracted looking at my summon, or didn't they? That's like the crux of if I can beat them or not, a lot of the time. I don't know. Just a little gripe I have with the game. It's not a huge deal. And it's still, like, you can still have tons of satisfying moments. Like, I was satisfied upon beating Elden Ring, and I was like, I'm cool, I'm a god gamer. But it did feel somewhat lessened by the fact that I was, you know, using Mimic Tier on, like, every single boss. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily agree that it trivializes bosses necessarily, but it sort of makes the fights feel less focused. Some bosses it surely trivializes, but it's kind of like there's a weird balance, you know. It's like, think about, maybe this was just me, I know some people said that I was like a scrub for thinking that the hippopotamus in the DLC was difficult, but that felt like a boss where it was like extremely easy with a summon and like borderline fucking impossible without one, where it was just like, yeah, well, if you're the only opponent for it in the room, it's just gonna face you all the time, and all of its attacks just come right out of the front of it, and what can you do? You know, especially, you know, some of the attacks, like the hippopotamus's big charging bite attack and Commander Gaius's stupid charge, where it's like, did they even intend for you to be able to dodge this move? Like, what do they want you to do? Yeah, the hippo's just like extremely aggressive. The hippo has fucked up hitboxes. The hippo was genuinely dog shit. Yep, the hippo is fucked. The hippo boss was also really aggressive. I'm so glad to see some people in chat agreeing with me that the hippo was fucked. So, you know, it's just kind of, I don't know, so much of Elden Ring just felt kind of like a loosey-goosey experience as compared to the rock-solid, tight design of the Souls series, which is not necessarily 100% true. Calling them rock solid is a little laughable, but you know what I mean. The hippos got nerfed, really? How so? I'm an Elden Ring lover. I rated a 10 out of 10, and I say the hippo is dog shit. Yeah, the arena is too small. It's true. It's just easier to dodge now. That's cool. That's cool. Reminds me of the guy complaining about the flamethrower in Doom Eternal getting clowned on by people saying, just don't use it, Lamau. But that's tricky when the game is designed around using all your tools and some of them just aren't as fun as others. That's very true. I really don't like the mentality of you control the buttons you press, LMAO, like just don't use it. When it's like, yeah, like this game is designed, like they intended for you to do certain things, and I'm like, I think it's ridiculous to put that on the player to be like, yeah, you have to design the game now. It's like, no, I'm not making the game, I'm playing it. Like, that's like, I think that's a great point. Gaius is untouched for some reason. Good, cool. Very, very cool. Anyway. Is there anything else to say? Also, just broadly throughout the whole series, I know I talked about PvP, but I also really enjoyed this series' approach to co-op. That's something that, it's like, a lot of the issues that I had with, like, latency, netcode in PvP, are kind of gone when it comes to co-op. There's still issues sometimes where it'll be like, you have a poor connection with your host, and the boss will just be like glitching out and clipping all over the place, but for the most part, it's like the small amount of like timing and reaction time that is needed in PvP doesn't really, at least for me, affect my gameplay that much when I'm helping people out in co-op. And man, do I love helping people out in co-op. I know I just went on a whole thing about summoning and how it like makes it feel more loosey-goosey, but I really, really love the concept of the summon co-op, and the way that it's like, if you're struggling on something and you really need help with it, you can summon another real-ass person with their personality and their own build who's gonna show up and help you out and fucking do a salute emote at you and then disappear into the night. Like, what a beautiful concept. And I really, in Elden Ring in particular, I spent probably genuinely like 100 hours just sitting there outside of a really difficult boss arena, just getting summoned and helping people out with bosses. It's just fun. There's this great feeling of kind of community, and you just feel like a good Samaritan, you know, and it's fun. It's kind of like you're fighting a diet version of a difficult boss over and over again, and it can also be good practice where you start to internalize the boss's patterns more when you're playing co-op. So I really like the co-op. Yeah, somebody said co-oping better than summons. Yeah, in a way. It's a little, like, you know, it's a little more complicated than that, but yeah. Yeah, and also, this person also struggled on this fight. You feel kinship with the people that summon you. Yeah, I talked about invasions last time. I don't hate them, but I don't really like them either. I think it's a cool concept, but the actual mechanics of PvP are like a little upsetting. And the fact that I've never really had a good experience with the online connections in these games. I've never really felt like when I match up with somebody, it's like, oh, wow, I'm playing this at a latency where I can react to my opponent's moves, you know. Please give me one moment. Okay, sorry, had to blow my nose, as usual. But I think that just about wraps it up for the Souls games, for the FromSoft Souls-like rant, the reviews. It's a fantastic franchise. I think we can just overall, like, can we all just, you know, get over ourselves and just say that this is all part of one franchise. Like, yes, they technically have different names and gameplay mechanics, but like in spirit, they're all kind of part of the same family. It's a great series, and I'm mildly excited to see what will happen next in the FromSoft world, but frankly, I'm kind of full. Like, I feel like I don't need any more. I'm kind of at that point with these, and especially considering how replayable these games are. It's like you could replay these games until the end of time and still be having fun, in my opinion. Okay, not literally until the end of time, in case there's a genie listening. Some sort of genie who's gonna do some smug prick thing. Oh, now you're gonna live forever playing 5 video games and you're gonna go insane. No, fuck you, buddy. But these games are so special and so cool, and there's so much to learn about them. There's so many. I think one of my favorite things, just broadly speaking, about all these games is like weird little unique mechanics that they absolutely did not have to put in the game, but they just did. Like, that shit's so cool, especially, you know, Dark Souls 1 does this a lot. All of them do this, though. But I'm just thinking, you know, off the top of my head, stuff like Miracle Resonance, Vagrants, you know, I mean, those are the most, like, popularly known ones, but there's probably, like, 50 different, like, random grave lording, you know, all these, like, weird mechanics in these games that give them so much depth, and that makes them so interesting, not just to play, but also just to think about. Another thing broadly about the whole series that kind of mildly rubs me the wrong way, but doesn't really end up affecting my enjoyment of them that much. What the hell are they doing with, like, stuff appearing? Like, I know it's probably not that serious, but what was up with, like, patches appearing in, like, Bloodborne and Elden Ring? It just kind of felt like, during the Souls series, it was kind of like, oh, you know, it's just like a fun little Easter egg, like he's a recurring character, and then he gets, like, a satisfying plot conclusion in the 3rd game. I guess he wasn't in the 2nd game. But him showing up in Elden Ring, I was just kind of like, man, like, did we need this? Did we really actually need this? Or, I don't know. Because wasn't there some other stuff about, like, Patches was in Dark Souls 2? Where? Because I know they had Pate, who was kind of like the Patches fill-in in that game. Yeah, he's like the Moonlight Greatsword. I don't mind the Moonlight Greatsword as much, but I'm trying to think, wasn't there something else that, that showed up in Elden Ring that was, like, from Dark Souls that wasn't Patches, it wasn't the Moonlight Greatsword? Am I crazy? It's job security for the VA. I don't know. It doesn't bother me too much, but there's some stuff where it felt like they were almost... Basilisks! That's what I'm thinking of! The basilisks, yeah. There's some stuff where I was just kind of like, is this just like a joke? Or are they trying to imply some kind of connection between these games? Like, surely not. Surely not. But, like, why are the basilisks here? Why is Patches here? I kind of would have been, like, if I had gone through all of Elden Ring without seeing anything from any of the previous Souls games, I wouldn't have batted an eye. I wouldn't have been like, oh man, it's such a shame that we didn't get a Patches cameo in this one. I don't know. Anyway, that's like a tiny thing. I don't know. That barely matters. It barely matters. I'm just trying to, like, rack my brains and think if there's anything else I really want to talk about these games. They're really cool. They hold a special place in my heart. I love them. I will play more of them in the future. There will be Demon's Souls. There will be Dark Souls 2 Vanilla. There will be second attempt at Sekiro, at the very least. Grapefruit, when he detects a hint of dastardly multiverse. It's actually so true. I'm so averse to that kind of stuff at this point. Yahtzee Croshaw at one point was talking about, like, oh yeah, I have this great idea for, like, the Omega multiverse. Okay, not the Omegaverse. Shut up. The super multiverse where it's like every game and all of time is all connected somehow. And I was like, why would you ever talk about that or want that? Don't say that. Don't fucking say that. Don't give them ideas. This is like one of the best songs ever created by humankind. Let's just sit here and listen.
How do you think it feels? Anything is easy to play. How do you think it feels? Any day from 9 to 5. Why do you cry and steal? Many kinds of good days. Try you to
Grapefruit loves Omegaverse. Somebody said, what the fuck is even Omegaverse about? Is it yaoi? To my knowledge, and don't ask me where I got this information, the Omegaverse is a fictional universe where like mpreg can happen. I guess, you know, technically in real life mpreg can happen, but like it's like males are born with the ability to get pregnant. That's my understanding. He has read Omegaverse Fix. No, there's someone I know that like lore dumped to me about the Omegaverse, and I will not reveal who it is to protect their anonymity. It can. The movie Junior taught me that. Anyway, I think with that under our belts, everybody's saying it was Lark. Yeah, Lark's huge into mpreg. No, Lark's told me some fucked up shit, but he didn't tell me about the Omegaverse. It's not anybody that you guys know. Anyway, let's move on. Now we got the FromSoft slop out of the way. Now it's time to talk about a real video game. Freddy Fish 3, The Case of the Stolen Conch Shell. It's peak. So these next few games are Humongous Entertainment games. Humongous Entertainment is a company that holds a certain place in my heart. I played some of these games as a child, including Freddy Fish 3, Putt Putt Saves the Zoo. I played Pajama Sam 3. I never played these two when I was a kid. I only played the third, and I had like a demo of the first game. And then I played these as a kid as well, which are kind of like spin-offs. So the main ones here, though, these are point-and-click adventure games, basically, for babies. And I think they've got a really... I genuinely really appreciate these games. It's difficult to separate my nostalgia out of the equation here, but trying to look at it as objectively as possible, I really think they're genuinely really good games for kids. So I might end up recommending these, but just have the caveat that they are games for children. I wouldn't necessarily recommend these to my, my peers, but it's like, if you have a kid, it might not be a bad move to, like, instead of, letting them hop on Roblox every day, hook them up with Freddy Fish 3 or some shit. Like, they're cool. I think they're very charming, sort of artful kids games that have a good sensibility. They're mildly educational, but not so educational that it's gonna feel like your kid is doing homework. A close comparison would be something like Clue Finders, where you're actually like doing math equations and shit. Whereas these games, it's kind of like, I get the impression that they're meant to instill good sensibilities and good judgment within your kid without actually just feeling like homework. I think they've really genuinely got some really cool art, really cool music. Some of it sort of suffers from compression. A lot of the music is very compressed just because of the time that it came out. Although it's worth stating that some of the soundtracks of these games have actually had re-releases. Pajama Sam 3's soundtrack had an HD re-release. I don't know how they did that, but from the original artist, there is a Pajama Sam 3 re-release album that came out like a few years ago. So Cool music, cool art, genuinely cool art, good animation, fun worlds, creative characters, you know, funny jokes. I think these games are genuinely quite funny at times. And it's just a fun little adventure. And one thing that I really appreciate about them, and this was something that blew my mind when I learned that it was a thing, because I never realized it as a kid. I replayed Pajama Sam 3 a bunch of times and never realized this. There's random elements. Like, the story... I don't know if this happens in all of the story-based ones that we're going to be talking about here, but a lot of them are like, every time you replay through them, some of the puzzles will be slightly different, or straight up, some of the plot will be a little bit different. Like, what NPCs are, like, in what places, or how you interact with them will be different from playthrough to playthrough. So it's kind of like, you get you get a lot of bang for your buck when you're playing these. So that's something to think about. There's not much else to say about them, frankly. They're just good. There's just, it's nice because, like, looking back at these is so wholesome, because in the modern day, so much of stuff aimed at kids is so cynical and so, like, scummy. It just feels like it's slop. It's slop coded. So much stuff made for kids is just like, kids make up such a huge part of, like, the entertainment economy, and they have such low standards that people have learned that you can basically just churn out whatever crap, you know, Elsa and Spider-Man pregnancy video, baby sensory video of fruits dancing around, you know. It's like, how little effort can we put into these games and into kids' entertainment media in general and still reap enormous profits, you know? Whereas these games, it's like, man, it's really wholesome and inspiring to think that there were people making stuff for kids who actually fucking respect the kids. And that's just great. It's like a lost art at this point. I kind of struggle to think of, like, modern games for kids that have this same kind of vibe, where it's like, they're not necessarily educational games, but they're not also just, like, slop meant to engage, you know, certain parts of the brain of a child and nothing else. Bluey. I guess Bluey, kinda. Echoes of Wisdom. That's funny. Anyway. Pajama Sam is not slop. I repeat, it is not slop. So now I'm just gonna kind of judge these based on their individual vibes. Frankly, I think all of these are very similar in quality. I'm just gonna write, like, a blanket yes, but this is a recommend for your child, not for you, necessarily. Unless you're, like, an actual goo goo gaga baby watching the stream right now, in which case, how did you get past the title of the stream? Let's see here. And it's like, all of them kind of have the same-ish vibe. Some of them are more grounded than others, but they all have kind of the... It's really hard for me to even, like, rank these differently, and of course giving them a number ranking when it's like I played them as an adult on stream, but I also have a bunch of nostalgia for some of them. It's very hard to come up with a number for this. So maybe I should just spit out a number, I don't know. Doop. It's like, man, if I give these a high score, imagine how much people are gonna rag on me. They're gonna be like, man, you liked Freddy Fish 3, The Case of the Stolen Conch, more than Sonic Adventure 2. 9 just so they're above Elden Ring. Yeah. Man, I really don't know. I really genuinely don't know. Pajama Sam Trilogy deserves a 10. It's funny, because I've heard Pajama Sam 4 is apparently bad. This is just what I've heard, at least. Freddy Goat mugs Sonic the Midhog. None of those words are in the Bible. Nidhogg might be in some holy text. Yeah, somebody said solid 8.5, and I'm inclined to agree. They're just solid. They're just solid. I know it's like, again, rating it the same as Elden Ring is a little silly. But they're just good. They're just simply good. I would honestly say Pajama Sam 1 was a little bit... It was a little bit less good, in my opinion, and I couldn't even really put a finger on why. It kind of felt a little less creative. It was kind of... Was that like their first game? Let me actually look at the... Oh, we're listening to Son of Ra now. Ooh. Maybe I should... Nah, whatever. If this gets muted, I'm shooting myself. It will get copyright claimed, actually, but honestly, I don't care. This is a great song. I love Son of Ra. And whatever, who cares if one VOD gets demonetized? Let me just look this up really quick. I think Humongous Entertainment is gone now, sadly. And yeah, they were developed, they were based in Bothell, which is like a couple miles from where I grew up. Let's just see here. It looks like their first game was Putt Putt Joins the Parade. Pajama Sam 1 came out the year I was born. That's crazy. And then Pajama Sam 3 came out in the year 2000. Huh. Oh, they also made some Blues Clues games. Oh, actually, no, Fatty Bear. No, Fatty Bear does not predate Putt Putt. Is there a way to just see that the way it's listed here is not really an informative list. It sorts them by series. Games in order by release year. Here we go. So it was Putt Putt Joins the Parade, then Fatty Bear's Birthday Surprise, then Putt Putt's Fun Pack, Putt Putt Goes to the Moon, Fatty Bear's Fun Pack, Putt Putt and Fatty Bear's Activity Pack, Freddy Fish 1. Okay. Let's explore the farm. Let's explore the airport. What's up with those? I've never heard of those. Putt Putt and Pep's Dog on a Stick. What the fuck? There's a bunch of these I've never heard of. Freddy Fish and Luther's Maze Madness. Freddy Fish and Luther's Water Worries. What the hell? Okay, well, anyway. Well, they made Backyard Football. That's interesting. Did they make Backyard Baseball? They did! I forgot they did Backyard Baseball. They did the Backyard Sports series. Totally forgot that was Humongous Entertainment. Wow. Huh. That's a game I gotta play eventually, because I played Backyard Baseball as a kid. Huh, okay. Well, anyway. I kind of seem to remember Pajama Sam 1, like, not being as good. I'm just gonna stick with my guns on that one. And then the... honestly, the imagination and creative world designs in Pajama Sam 2 and 3 are awesome. Fuck you, I'm giving them 9s. I'm giving them more than Elden Ring. And I know that doesn't make any sense if you're looking at these on an objective level, but it's not objective, it's subjective. They're cool. They're just like really, it's like, wow, they really cooked with these ones. And again, I'm rating them like as kids games. I'm not trying to do a bit here. It's please don't take the numbers too seriously. Anyway, now we get on to Pajama Sam's Sockworks. This was actually a pretty decent little puzzle game. Spoiler alert, Lost and Found is dog shit. This is children's slop, in my opinion. This is like a worthless fucking video game. But Sockworks, I played both of these as a kid. I remember Sockworks being fun as a child, if a little bit difficult at times, because you don't have, you know, a lot of brain cells as a kid. But it was pretty fun. It's the whole thing is like you're sorting Pajama Sam's socks, and the socks travel on conveyor belts. And there's all sorts of systems about like chutes that they shoot down and bumpers that they bounce off of, and you're pulling the levers to change the directions that the conveyor belts are going on. And I seem to remember when I streamed this, it was still actually a pretty, like, okay puzzle game. Like, it was fairly compelling. It wasn't anything, it certainly doesn't have the same charm as the other games, but it was like a fine enough way to pass the time, if a little bit dull and repetitive. So I don't know, give it like a 6 or 7 maybe. Give it like a 6.5 if I'm halfway between 6 and 7. That makes sense. Now recommend. Sure, fuck it. Let's say yes again for kids. All of these, the recommends are for kids. If I'm recommending a kids game, I'm probably recommending it for a child. And Pajama Sam's Lost and Found, this is like a fun pack type game, where it's just a collection of mini games, and the mini games are very samey and bad and boring and not compelling at all. I don't really remember much about this. Maybe I enjoyed it as a kid, because again, you have low standards as a kid, but playing it as an adult, I was struck by just how simplistic and repetitive and uninspired it was. It was just like, oh, here's a bunch of characters from the actually good Pajama Sam games just lumped into these shitty mini games. So let's say, I don't know, it's like a 2. It was genuinely so bad. It was fun for nostalgic purposes, but it was like, bruh. Okay, should we keep going or should I just stop for today? We've been going about an hour and a half. I have fulfilled, I think the next stream I do will not be reviews, but I will still, I think Bella and I are going to stream the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, possibly today or in the next couple of days. So you can look forward to that. Maybe I should just crank out the Ace Attorney reviews. Maybe we should do that before we leave today, just to get a little more crossed off our list here. And then in the future, we will do the only things left on this main part of the list are PopCap games and Street Fighter series. So after I play the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, we'll be able to add stuff to that, and then we'll be able to just do it all in one big chungus, as they say. No PopCap reviews. I'm skeleton dry. Why did you make a spreadsheet and not use backlogged? I don't know. I've heard about backlogged. Is it good? I don't know. Let me see here. Video game collection tracker. I'm not against it, but I kind of like the spreadsheet because it's like, I use it because it's like publicly available information. Backlogged. Express your thoughts with reviews, keep up with the latest from friends. It's just like Letterboxd, but for games, basically. Which I'm not that familiar with Letterboxd either, honestly. I don't know, I kind of like the spreadsheet, the simplicity of it. And it's also kind of like, I figure there's probably some games on this spreadsheet that are not on backlogged. You know what I mean? It says here 233,000 games are on backlogged, but like, I don't know, do they have Bejeweled 2 scoop away? I don't know, man. But I like this because, maybe backlogged has a similar feature, but I like this because people can just open up this spreadsheet and search if I've played a game or not. I mean, this is the review version, but there's a non-review version that people can, look at and easily glean information quickly about, what I have and haven't played and all the pertinent information. Anyway, you know what? The playlist is right about to play some Phoenix Wright music. Perfect. Okay, let's get into it. Let's play. These I played so long ago at this point, so I'm sorry if my memory is like a little bit crusty and dusty. but you guys know I love Ace Attorney. I've never actually streamed one of these games because I don't think they make for particularly good stream games, but man, do I love them. Unfortunately, this little chunk here is it's gonna contain the most mid of the series, I think. The original trilogy of Phoenix Wright, I think, is godlike. In fact, 9, only a 9 for Phoenix Wright 1. What was I thinking? It's at least a 9.5. But the second trilogy that starts with Apollo Justice and goes into Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, I'm not the biggest fan of, particularly these two. I don't really care for them that much. It's kind of like when you play the original trilogy, you might be left with this void in your heart of like, where is more Phoenix Wright? I need more Phoenix Wright. And these later games can certainly fill that void somewhat, but you can never go home again. I don't think they ever necessarily reached the heights of Phoenix Wright 1 or 3. That's just my personal opinion. So let's go through them individually. Apollo Justice. This one I really like because it has the hand-drawn sprites of the first 3 games, but they were like better. And especially if you're talking about all of these, I played all of these using the... Why is the music stopped? Why did it just end? Go. Go, my scarab. So I played all of these through the remastered collections, including the Edgeworth games. And something that really stuck out to me about Apollo Justice in particular was, and I don't know if this is just specifically they cooked on the remaster or what, the sprites look really, really good. This is the last, beyond the Edgeworth games, this is the last sprite-based game before they went to basically full 3D. And I really like how all the sprites and the characters look in these in this particular game. They just feel higher definition and like, not higher definition, but they're like slightly more detailed and expressive, and it just feels like they really nailed the look, again, particularly for the remastered collection. So, good on them for that. Apollo Justice is a very confused game, and kind of confusing. The cases themselves are pretty good, but the overall plot I found to be quite, I don't know, do I want to say oblique? What does oblique mean? The word oblique just poked into my brain. What does oblique mean? Neither parallel nor at a right angle to a specified or implied line. Slanting. Grammar, denoting any case other than the nominative or vocative. No, wrong. Somebody said it's like on fleek. It is not like on fleek. No, oblique is a poor term here. Very poor. I found it kind of confusing and weird, and it kind of felt like the writers themselves didn't really know where they were going with this shit. And it's sad because it's kind of like they passed the torch over to Apollo Justice, right? Like, he's the new protagonist, and Phoenix is now an ancillary character. And I liked all that stuff. I particularly love what they did with Phoenix in this game. I thought it was really cool that he was a homeless man in the Apollo Justice, not in the trilogy, just in Apollo Justice, and we'll get to that. But it felt like they wanted to pass the torch to this new character who was very similar to Phoenix Wright, but had his own personality. But it kind of felt like they didn't make a roadmap of like where they wanted the character to go or how they wanted him to develop. And so it just kind of felt like he fell by the wayside throughout this whole trilogy, and even within his debut game. it was just kind of like, what is he doing here? Why do they keep, like, his backstory is strange. There was all this stuff about his bracelet. He's, like, got a magical bracelet that lets him, like, see people's nervous tics, and then that allows them to, like, it allows him to peer into their soul and, like, see what they're thinking in a way. Very odd mechanic that was very kind of frustrating at times, because it was, like, basically pixel hunting, where you're like looking at somebody and you have to, you know, notice that their armpit is sweating. That was one of the worst ones, where it's like you think nervous tick and you're like, okay, I want to like look for like their fingers or their eye twitching or something, but it's like, no, fucking Brushel has sweat splurt out of his armpits. Disgusting. And why would I notice that anyway? Weird mechanic, but also it really drove me up the wall how Apollo, like, never mentions it. He's always, like, the first time he figures out that he can do this shit, he's just like, my bracelet is reacting, and I'm like, man, wouldn't it have been nice if there had been a line in there about, like, this bracelet that was left to me by my family members or something? I don't even really remember. I believe, I guess we should just say spoilers for, like, this whole thing, by the way. Hold on, I actually made a spoiler tag for this, like, literally like months ago, and now I can finally use it. But, you know, just keep in mind that there will be spoilers this whole time, and also for the Edgeworth games. But there, a bunch of the stuff about, like, the bracelet, I was like, I don't know why this bothered me in particular, but I was like, can't you just give us, like, the tiniest bit of breadcrumbs about, like, why Apollo wears this bracelet 24/7 and why it's magical or something? Like, you don't need to give me everything, but it was just the fact that they gave me nothing to go off of there. It's like, you can't have a single line of internal monologue of like, oh yeah, this bracelet that I got from my mom or whatever that I've had since I was a little child is reacting in this way, you know. Isn't that strange? I don't know, that was one little instance of kind of sloppy writing in this game that I think is kind of full of sloppy writing in a way. The whole last case, it was like the second to last case and last case were really weird. All that stuff about how Phoenix Wright is like changing the legal system, and I have no idea how Phoenix has the power to do that, but they're like testing out this whole new method of basically law. I think this is before the Dark Age of the Law plotline, or maybe it was just the beginning of the Dark Age of the Law plotline that continues into Dual Destinies. But there was a bunch of stuff that was just weird and confusing and felt, a lot of the earlier cases, they can be ridiculous at times, and they can be, you know, there can be contrivances and stuff, but they felt somewhat grounded, and this is the game where it kind of felt like they slightly jumped the shark in terms of the storytelling. That's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people actually really hate Apollo Justice. I think it is like pretty middle of the road as it goes with Phoenix Wright games. There's a lot to love, there's a lot to dislike. It's got a lot of the charms of, you know, the Ace Attorney series. It's got the lovable characters, well-written characters for the most part. You know, cool sprites that are fun to look at, witty dialogue, interesting court cases, interesting mysteries to solve and all that, but I just felt like the overall story was very confused and directionless and kind of plodding. I don't know. How messy are your OBS scenes? I'll say this. You remember when I was streaming the Zapper games and I had the cover art of all the Zapper games I was playing up on the right side of the screen? Those are all still in here, and they're all labeled, but I've moved the files that they were linked to, so every time I open up OBS, it's like, we found 17 errors. We could not find the files that are associated with these images in the with these image placements in your OBS, and I just hit like cancel or whatever. I just ignore it because I might need those later when I'm editing the video. I haven't finished making the video essay, so anyway. Yeah, well, somebody said it's not him changing, it's the legal system trying something new, but Phoenix is just chosen as the head of that project. But he has a weird amount of power in being the head of that project, and like, why? Why is he the head of that project? Like, what are his qualifications? He's a disgraced lawyer. I don't know. Something about that was a little weird. But yeah, there's still most of the stuff, like great music, great characters, great animations, great mysteries. All that stuff is still there. The overall story I found a little weird. I did like Gavin. I like the prosecutor. I like, Christoph Gavin and... Oh, fuck. What are their names? The two Gavins? I forget. But they were great. I really liked them both. Clavier was the other one, I believe. Anyway. Somebody said I'm actually so hyped for the Zapper video. I am too. I'm excited to release it. It's still gonna be a while, though. I kind of had a false start where I started recording voiceover for it, and then I was like, I don't like this. And I've kind of been, like, rehearsing in a weird way. I've been, like, training to, like, do the voiceover better, because I didn't really like the first pass on it. I didn't record the whole thing and then ditch it, but I just did, like, I recorded, like, the first few minutes, and I was listening back to it, and I was like, I need to do something different. I don't know. But maybe that's just me nitpicking my own stuff. Anyway, still a great game, I think. I would recommend it. But honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna end up recommending Dual Destinies or Spirit of Justice. And that's kind of fucked up. Let's give this like an 8. I would put it roughly on par with Justice for All. Kind of for different reasons. Justice for All had different issues. Now, Dual Destinies, this might be my least favorite in the whole series. This was the first one where they switched to 3D, and just right off the bat, I kind of think the 3D just doesn't look as good. And they did, again, I'm playing the remastered versions of it, so I can't really attest to how it looked on the 3DS where it was originally published, but I really think the series should have stuck with being sprite-based. I really don't understand, like, the benefits don't really seem to outweigh the costs of using 3D models, because they just look kind of fugly. Like, there's just something, like, awkward and weird about the 3D models. That being said, I already rated the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. These games actually look a lot better, I think, and they're also 3D. But Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice just have this kind of weird, ugly look to them. Particularly when they tried to make 3D models that are like a direct mirroring interpretation of what were once 2D sprites. Like Trucy, is that her name? I almost said Trudy, I believe it is Trucy. Trucy looks weird in Dual Destinies, and like they tried to have her exactly mimic, the sprites from Apollo Justice, and it just looks strange and uncanny, and the way Phoenix Wright himself looks in this is also weird. Now, the overall plot of Dual Destinies, I think, is super fucking confusing. If you remember, how they did stuff in Trials and Tribulations, which is a great game, they kind of had some stuff that was out of order, where it was like, chronologically, the timeline is like all fucked up. It's like the cases that you play in that game. The first case that you play in that game is actually chronologically the second, and then the second case in that game is... okay, I'm not gonna sit here and think it all out, but the timeline is all fucked up. It's all fucky-wucky. And like the fourth case that you play in that game is actually chronologically the first. But I think that stuff was a lot less confusing than it was in Dual Destinies. Dual Destinies, it's like they were trying to outdo themselves in terms of like non-chronological order, to the point where it just gets confusing. And I swear to God, they introduce the prosecutor in Dual Destinies like 4 times. where they're like, that's Prosecutor Blackquill. This is the first time we've ever seen him. And I'm like, is it? Maybe I'm misremembering, but I seem to remember at a certain point I was like, when are they gonna stop introducing this guy? Like, I know it's not in chronological order, but like, I feel like we've already, even in chronological order, we've already seen them. I don't know. And there's a bunch of, I think this is also, like, they kind of jumped the shark in Apollo Justice, and then they continued to do so in this one. Stuff became more and more cartoonish. I always thought in the original trilogy that they had such a genius balance of wackiness and seriousness. And it was like, yeah, there was tons and tons of goofy stuff in the original trilogy, but it never got, like, truly cartoonish. Whereas I think in Dual Destinies in particular, they really leaned into the goofiness, and I kind of thought that took away from it to a certain degree. It was like they lost a little bit of restraint in how they wrote and designed these games. Just my personal opinion, of course, as is everything here, but I really didn't like a lot of the, like, villain characters and a lot of the... Even, somebody said, okay, Blackquill's awesome, though. I like Blackquill, but even I'm not the biggest fan of, honestly. The whole thing where he's, like... For one, he's got a hawk. Doesn't he have a hawk? He's like a prisoner. He's on death row. He's a death row prisoner who is going to get the fucking chair, but they're letting him be a prosecutor in the cases. What the hell is up with that? That's so fucking goofy. That's like such a silly plot point that I kind of had difficulty getting around. It was like, why the hell is he allowed to be a prosecutor if he's literally on death row? What the fuck? As a character, I don't mind him, but that aspect was just like, what the fuck? Yeah, he brought a hawk to a courtroom. Anyway. There's also this whole thing, so Dual Destinies, I think the dual is supposed to refer to Athena and Apollo. And is this Athena's first appearance? She wasn't in Apollo Justice, right? This was her first time showing up, and I like Athena, but I kind of feel like it's sad that she has to share this game with bum-ass Apollo. And I like Apollo too, but it's kind of like the main storyline in this game is kind of split between the two of them, and it doesn't really mesh well together. I'm gonna say it, I'm not the biggest fan of Athena's like emotion reading mechanic. It's like ever since the Magatama in Ace Attorney 2, they always have to like have these weird mechanics where it's like, oh, Apollo Justice has his bracelet that lets you see the nervous ticks of people, and then it's like, oh, Athena has this little electronic gadget around her neck that can read people's emotions, and it's like people give their testimony and you can track their emotions, and if the emotion doesn't line up with what they're saying, then you point it out, and then they're, for whatever reason, just obligated by God to, you know, confess whatever they're lying about. It sounds cool on paper, but there were a lot of times where I was just like, oh, like it just felt like kind of a leap in logic. I don't know, maybe I was just bad at it, but in ways that the Magatama never tripped me up, Athena's gimmick kind of tripped me up a lot. So I like Athena, I like Apollo. I'm sad that they had to share this game together and both kind of have their own plot lines going on. It was also jarring how much it turned out both of them were connected to the main, like, overarching story. I know it's like the main characters should have some connection to the main story, but particularly the fact that it just feels like a convenience in a lot of ways, that it's like, oh wow, Athena's backstory is super intertwined with Blackquill's backstory. That just kind of happened. That's just like, wow, what a coincidence. I don't know. They wore the "This is our get along" shirt. Yeah, oh my god. Don't even get me started on the divination seance. Oh, holy mother. Anyway. we'll get to that. So Dual Destinies, I would reiterate, it's still got a lot of fun characters. I think the one thing that is a consistent strength throughout all of these games, even the poopy ones, honestly, except for Investigations 1, is they all have memorable, fun, lovable characters with cute animations that have, fun dialogue for the most part, that's well written, well thought out. All that just stays present throughout all of these, but I really didn't care for the plot in Dual Destinies. It felt very confusing and confused. It didn't really feel like the game knew itself what it was trying to do. And oh my god, one of the worst endings to any game I've ever fucking played. Now, really, spoiler warning, hoot hoot, put it on mute. I'm about to spoil something that essentially, if you were ever thinking about playing Dual Destinies, this will ruin the game for you. It will ruin it. It will ruin the game. The entire game will be ruined. This is I've talked in the past about how spoilers sometimes don't really matter. It's kind of being spoiled on something can be a bummer, but it doesn't make it so it's wow, I'm never gonna do that, because I got The Sixth Sense spoiled for me, now I'm never gonna watch that movie because there's no point to it. It's nah, it's not that simple. No, this is the worst spoiler ever in Dual Destinies. Do it, kill, kill, kill. Yeah, so if you plan on playing this at any point, I don't necessarily recommend this game. I kind of think you can stop at Apollo Justice. It's play Apollo Justice, and then however you were imagining Apollo's arc was gonna go, just imagine that and don't actually play the next two games. The reveal that the highly lovable, extremely good and cool new detective character in this game, Bobby Fulbright, is actually a secret spy guy that's undercover as Bobby Fulbright. Bobby Fulbright has been dead the entire time you're playing Dual Destinies, and the guy that you've been talking to has been an impersonator who was... I don't even remember what his actual motivation was. He's such a non-character. He's such a nothing villain. It's revealed right at the end that Bobby Fulbright has been the true villain the entire time. I could not believe, my jaw hit the floor. I could not believe my eyes, what I was reading and what I was seeing when that happened. It's such a letdown. It's such a wet fart of a fucking ending. And it ruins Bobby Fulbright, which sucks because Bobby Fulbright, he was such a fun character. I loved him so much. He was my favorite part of this game. And then it was oh, at the end, they just toss a match onto it. I could not believe what I was seeing. I didn't think it worked at all. It was such a bummer. It was such a letdown. It was so stupid. It was such a stupid plot twist for the sake of there being a plot twist. It made me unfathomably angry. And it really brings the entire game down for me, frankly. Yeah, his motivation is to sabotage the rocket, but it's not actually his motivation. He was hired by some guy, right? It was some European spy organization. He's just a hired gun, basically. Insane. I couldn't believe it. It really, really sucked, and it actually just genuinely bummed me out. Beating that game and being wow. And the thing that really pissed me off was there was this whole thing about oh yeah, the guy they call him the Phantom, the spy, the Phantom, got an injury on the back of his hand. And there's this animation that Bobby Fulbright does a ton of the time where he holds up the back of his hand and he wears gloves. And there's this little weird mark on the back of his hand that just looks like a the little agitation mark that you see in anime sometimes that appears on people's foreheads and stuff. And I was oh my god, that's gonna be one mildly cool thing, is they're gonna reveal that mark on the back of his hand is actually the wound, poking through the glove somewhat. But they never actually took off the glove. They never actually were so, Bobby Fulbright, do you have an injury on the back of your hand? They never brought it up, even though it was explicitly framed as a clue in the case that the person who did it got an injury on the back of their hand, and Bobby Fulbright wears gloves and has this conspicuous mark on the back of his hand. They never actually talk about it. They never actually reveal it. And I'm like, did they just forget to address that plot point or what? Maybe I'm just going crazy. Maybe I'm thinking myself in circles here, but I don't know. So yeah, really didn't care for it. There's, like I said, there's some good cases in this game, but I kind of think like this sort of ugly visual style and the whole Bobby Fulbright thing really brings it down. I also don't like how, for one, Apollo Justice and Athena have to share being protagonists of this game, but also Phoenix Wright himself has to share being a protagonist of this game. And I hated this movie. I mean, I hated how in Apollo Justice, Phoenix Wright was like a really interesting side character, and then in Dual Destinies, it's like they pussied out and they were like, no, we can't have Phoenix Wright be a side character who's like not marketable anymore. We have to make him look like he did in the previous games and act like he did in the previous games. So it's like all that shit that happened in Apollo Justice with him that was like the coolest part of Apollo Justice was just meaningless. They just like wiped it clean basically, and he acts exactly like how he does in the original trilogy, and it's like, well, what the hell was the point of that? Like, why did you do that? It's like they chickened out and they were like, we need to be able to have iconic Phoenix Wright. Like maybe Apollo Justice just sold really poorly or something, but I was like, why the hell did they just like revert Phoenix back to how he was originally instead of just continuing how he was in Apollo Justice? I don't know. So yeah, and you know what the Bobby Fulbright thing makes me think of is that famous, infamous Simpsons episode, The Principal and the Pauper, where it's revealed that Seymour Skinner has been like a fake guy the whole time. It really just genuinely feels like a betrayal from the writers. It feels like a cruel joke from the writers of like, haha, you liked this character? Well, they're actually not real. They were dead the whole time. And it's like, well, why the fuck should I care about anything now? what is real in life? You know, why? How should I care about anything if I can't care about Bobby Fulbright? Anyway, a lot of rough stuff about this game, in my opinion. The plot was confusing. I didn't like how many main characters there were. They all were like muscling in on each other's territory. The gameplay was kind of weird at times. And they fucking murdered Bobby Fulbright in cold blood. And especially, there's a DLC case in this game, and the DLC case takes place before the reveal that Bobby Fulbright is a villain and is like the Phantom. So when you're playing that DLC case, I think it's funny, the DLC case in this game and Spirit of Justice, there was, for whatever reason, they structured the DLC cases in this way where I think they meant for you to be able to play them before the main game. So, because they have like tutorials and stuff in them about like how to play the game, and it's like, well, I've already just beaten the game and now I'm doing the DLC case, so like, why would you give that to me? I don't know who the hell they thought were gonna play the DLC cases before anything else. But, yeah, Bella hopped in to say Dual Destinies DLC was peak. It was. It's a good case. I love the whale case. It was great. Lots of great characters. I love the, like, fail girl pirate character. I love Marlon Rhymes. You know, I love cross-examining the whale is very funny. But, Bobby Fulbright is just in that case, just in his disguise. And there's never any, I was like, man, maybe if you like, it could be just the slightest bit interesting if you just tossed in like a little hint here and there about like Bobby Fulbright being an imposter. But nope, they just went fully like, just blank-faced, just like, yeah, this is Bobby Fulbright, you like him, haha. We didn't ruin his character at all, haha. And I was like, man, they couldn't even like do some like cool little like foreshadowing or anything. Oh man, I'm sorry, I just looked over at chat and it's completely flooded with first-time chatters. Hello, thank you, Lemieux. This is the second raid of the stream, insanity. Well, you raided at an interesting time. I'm spoiling all of fucking Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. but I'm just about to be done with this one. The DLC case is cool, even it had some weirdness to it, but it was fun. And it's just kind of like, it doesn't have any of that ickiness of the main story because it's kind of separate from everything else, so that was cool. I honestly don't think I would necessarily recommend this one. It's like, if you finish playing the first 4 Ace Attorney games and you really need more Ace Attorney, then play Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and the Investigations games, and then if you're still hungry after that, sure, I guess you can play Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. Like, they have some of the sauce, but much less of it. I'm gonna give this like, maybe like a 7. Yeah, let's give it a 7. It's still got a lot of the charms of Ace Attorney. It's not a bad game, but I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it. Anyway, Spirit of Justice. This one also is kind of lame. It doesn't have... some of the issues that are present in Dual Destinies are not present in this one, but I kind of think this one is just kind of stupid. Might be kind of a reductive take on it, but I kind of just think the story in this one is dumb. This one continues the trend of jumping the shark. It's all about Phoenix Wright going to this country called Kurain, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm probably wrong on this, but I thought there was something in the game that made it clear that, like, Kurain and Kurain were like 2 different things. Like, Maya Fey's family lineage was not from this country, even though everything about the game made it seem as though it was. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm probably crazy. But I seem to remember that was a thing. I don't know. They are different. They're different? You're not crazy? That's insane to me. Like, that feels like maybe like a last-minute change or something. Like, why the hell did they do that? Like, they have the same name. They're both called Kurain. Whatever. So, Spirit of Justice, it's like a lot of it takes place in this foreign country that has, like, and it's... I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna get too, like, woke here and say, like, it's, like, looking down on foreign countries as, like, less developed, but it is very, like, wow, this is a country of, like, fucking brutes and savages, you know, they're, like, less developed than our countries, and look at how backwards their legal system is, and they have this whole stupid rule where, it's like they have a court system, but if you defend, there's no defense attorneys, because if you defend somebody and they end up turning out to be guilty, then you get the same punishment as the guilty person. So if they're guilty of murder, then you also get the death sentence, which is just insane. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with that plotline. It's just like goofy and over the top in a way that I think the original trilogy tactfully avoided goofy shit like that. Oh my god, somebody, I think that's Maddie, said, this is Apollo's backstory. Wait, this is Apollo's backstory. No, this is Apollo's backstory. That is what this fucking series does over and over again. And we get, like, Apollo backstory number 3 in Spirit of Justice. It's ridiculous. I hate that aspect of it. That's something like I was saying with Apollo Justice. I was like, it just doesn't feel like they planned out what the arc for this guy is. Can't wait for the 4th Apollo backstory in Ace Attorney 7. Yeah. It's like, how many tragic backstories can one guy have? And of course, he's directly linked, just by total coincidence, with the new prosecutor in this game and with, like, a bunch of, like, the main characters. I was not a big fan of the new prosecutor in Spirit of Justice. I don't even remember his name. It was started with an N. I don't even recall his name. He wasn't, like, terrible, but he was just, like, he didn't have the same sauce that a lot of the previous prosecutors had. Yeah, Nahuta. Yeah. he was just kind of boring, and there's so much goofy shit in this one too. I didn't really, his whole animation where like he breaks the beads on his necklace and then they like beat the shit out of him. I know this is like, if you've not played these games, this is gonna sound stupid because it is. He like breaks his necklace, and then the beads on the necklace do like a Street Fighter combo on him, and he like falls to the floor dead. And that happens in like every case. That was so goofy and stupid. And he was just kind of not a very memorable character. All the stuff about like the foreign politics just like bounced right off of me. I just didn't really care for it. Like all the other games, I still do think in a vacuum there are some fun cases in this game. It's not completely without merit, but I think honestly I liked it even less than Dual Destinies. Now, somebody mentioned the divination seance earlier. That's this game's new mechanic of like, oh, here's this weird like magic thing going on. Basically, it's a cool idea in concept. There's a person who does a ritual, performs a ritual every trial that shows the last few moments of the victim's life, basically. And you can not only see what they were seeing with their eyes, but it also shows text on screen that says like what they were hearing and what they were experiencing, what sensations, you know, if they feel cold or if they heard a loud shattering noise or whatever. And all that is really cool, but a lot of those segments were really weird and confusing in a way that I felt like it wasn't necessary for them to be weird and confusing. I don't know. Some of them were cool. Some of them were just like really confusing. There were, I think, some cases where it was like the culprit of something that happened. There was like power creep kind of throughout the whole Ace Attorney series of like the ridiculous things that the culprits will do to cover their tracks. And I'm pretty sure there were a couple of people in Spirit of Justice who were like cognizant of the fact that they were going to do the divination seance, and so they showed the victim very specific things before they died to try to like rig the system. And I'm like, who the hell is this fucking like Sherlock Holmes Moriarty ass like hyper intelligent being who is planning this far ahead? Yeah, I liked the guitar guy at least. Yeah, I liked him too. Now, I also think the names in this game, this is where the names absolutely jumped the shark. The names in the first trilogy, some of them were kind of stupid. I think, is the original trilogy where we get Dead Man? Or is that in the Investigations games? I think that's in Investigations. But there were some goofy names, obviously, but a lot of them still sounded like real names and weren't just like cartoonish gibberish. Whereas Spirit of Justice, they went all in on the pun names, especially the people from the country of Kurain, which was like the little kid named I'll Be Your Guide, and there were a bunch of ridiculous ones, but the guitar guy, his name was Peace, Love, and Understanding, but like with a bunch of, you know, apostrophes in it to make it look like a foreign language. It was like Peace, Love, and Understanding, or something like that, and I'm like, come the fuck on, man. And Myrtle in Cold Blood. Dead Man, you gotta hand it to them. They cooked with Dead Man. But the pun names, they go so far in the wrong direction. And then it's like one of the main villains of this game. Let me look it up. Let me look up the ridiculous one. Ridiculously long name in Phoenix Wright 6. Let me just see if it shows up. Yeah. Inga. This fucking guy. Inga Karkul Kurain is his, like, informal name. And then his actual name is Inga Karkul. How could this name be any longa or more pompous than it already is, Kurain III? fuck you. Like, they went, do you see what I mean about how these games, they just go so goofy? And it's like, I like the goofy aspect of Phoenix Wright games, but they just went way too far. Like, they jumped like 10 sharks in this fucking game. They named three guys that, yeah. Unfucking believable. It is kind of fun looking at the, there's a whole section on the Ace Attorney wiki on this guy's page that just says name. And it's just the various foreign translations of this guy's, you know, absurdly long name. And of course he's a standout, but like a lot of the, I mean, Peace, Love, and Understanding is another one. Like, that's ridiculous. And what was the other one? There was a guy who was like, his name was like Monk or something, but it was like, hold on. Can I just look at, like, characters in Ace Attorney 6? What was the, like, monk guy? Because he also had a stupid name. Hold on. At a certain point... At a certain point, there's no reason to fucking do this. Praise a lot. Yeah, praise a lot. His name is like Puree Zalot, and it's supposed to be that he's a monk, so he prays a lot. Fuck you. And it's just like, it's hard to take these characters seriously at a certain point when they're that silly. I don't know. Maybe I'm ragging on about this too much, but the plot felt frivolous. The whole thing centering around like the 8th Apollo Justice backstory was stupid. I thought the foreign laws were just kind of a dumb plot point. The main villain lady was so obviously the main villain from the very first time we saw her. Here's a little hint in these 3D Ace Attorney games. If anybody ever shows up and they only have like 2 or 3 animations possible when they're talking, like you're like, man, this person like sits still a lot. That's because they're a villain and they're going to transform into something later that actually has like a full suite of animations. It was very easy for me to predict like where the plot was going, and like not all the specifics necessarily, but a lot of them. Now, however, I do like some of the main characters. Dirk was cool. I liked him. Who was the funny guy? I'm sorry that I'm just... That's a Rebel! It was That's a Rebel! Dots Arabal. He's a rebel, so his name is That's a Rebel. Fuck off. Like, did they like fire their team of translators at Capcom or something like that? But I do love that character. He's a good guy. I like him. But yeah, wasn't a big fan of this one. And then there's a DLC case that just kind of feels like another case from Dual Destinies. This DLC case is not as good as the one in Dual Destinies. It's not terrible. The bride character is fucking awesome in that one. She's like one of the best characters. Both the DLC cases in 5 and 6 have one really amazing female character. It's just a tradition. But you haven't even mentioned 2 or 4. What do you mean? 2 or 4 what? Cases? Games? Anyway. The DLC case in Spirit of Justice, I didn't really find that amazing. It was fine. I didn't really... It was kind of like throwback, because it was like, oh, Larry Butts is here and Maya Fey is here. Yeah, case 2 and 4, that there are cases that take place that are more traditional Ace Attorney stuff that doesn't happen in Kurain, is what you mean, I assume, right? And those are the better ones, I think. Yeah, Storyteller and the Magic Show one. Oh, Audio Jungle! Audio Jungle! Audio Jungle! Bella just got jump scared by Dance Rush Stardom music. I don't know. We've already jumped the copyright claim shark, I suppose. I'm obsessed with jumping sharks today. Nah. Put on Peggle Dual Shot OST Beat 11. Even if we scare the hose. Okay. So there's some, I don't know, it's not just that I hate all the cases that take place in like the, you know, foreign country in Spirit of Justice. All the cases are kind of weird. I did like the ones that take place back in the United States. This is also a complicated issue. These games are set in the United States in the English translation and set in Japan in the Japanese translation. The stuff that takes place in the States, I think it was better. I like the Magic Show one. I like Turnabout Storyteller, but even they were kind of weird and just like a little too goofy. I think that's like my main issue with these later Ace Attorney games is they got a little too goofy. And it's not like a sin. I'm sure some people really vibed with it, but I just thought it was inappropriate at a certain point. It just like diminished the vibe of these games. They had such a tightly like cultivated vibe, and it just kind of feels like it withered over time. It got like eroded more and more and more. Yeah, I've heard some people ask for like, oh, when are we gonna get like Ace Attorney 7? And I'm kind of like, we could probably be done. Like, I don't need any more Ace Attorney games. There's a lot of them. They just need to, all they need to do, it's simple. Just make, somebody said Ace Attorney Investigations 3 featuring Gumshoe. Yeah. That distracted me, and I actually don't remember what I said. It's very simple. I totally forgot what I was gonna say. Great Ace Attorney Chronicles 3. No, I actually have no clue what I was gonna say. No, I would not recommend Spirit of Justice. Even the DLC case is not great, honestly. Gosh, I want to give this one like a 6. It was still enjoyable stuff. Something tiny. It's very simple. Yeah, it's basically what I said. One little thing that kind of weirds me out about Spirit of Justice is every time you do that damn divination seance, it plays that little cutscene of, I forget her name. Sorry, it's been a while. It's been like a year since I played these games, so sorry I'm blanking on a lot of the names. When that girl does the divination seance, she goes like, "Oh, Holy Mother," and says like a little blurb, and then does this dance, and it plays a song, and she does this dance. And you know, being able to, I think that was one of the very few, like, oh, like, it's in 3D, so we can show this dance, this complicated dance thing from, like, a bunch of different camera angles very easily, and it's like, great. I still don't like the 3D models. The exact same cutscene plays every single time, and it with no variance. It never changes. That confused me so much, and it's skippable, so you can skip it. So if you know that it's the exact same every time, then you can just skip it. But there were several times where I was like, is something going to like happen? Why would they have this exact same long-ass cutscene play every single time with no changes? Like, can't she just go, "Oh, Holy Mother," and then it like fades to black and then we just move on? Like, yes, it's skippable, but like, what the fuck? Why did they do that? Like, who is going to sit there and watch through it every time being like, yeah, this is awesome? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, you know, 3D Ace Attorney, it's not as simple as me just saying I didn't like it, but a lot of it was just kind of ugly and weird. I don't like the way Phoenix Wright himself looks in 3D, for instance. I think Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, they did a lot better at presenting Ace Attorney characters in 3D. Anyway, let's move on. Ace Attorney Investigations. So this is a, let's just change this out real quick. Hold on. Ass. Ace Attorney Investigations spoilers. And there are some things in here that will probably, especially the second game, that will ruin the second game for you. Or there's a pretty significant spoiler in here, so take it to heart. I normally don't give spoiler warnings very much, but these are some games where I think they do matter. Ace Attorney Investigations is a very weird sub-series. It's a spin-off where you play as Miles Edgeworth, the antagonist a minor antagonist from the first trilogy, who sort of becomes a more of a deuteragonist over time. He's a great character. I really love him. Unfortunately, this first game, somebody in chat said it's so boring, lol. Yeah, this first one, so just to sort of jump ahead a little bit, I think Ace Attorney Investigations 1 is like really dull and like one of my least favorite Ace Attorney games, and then 2 is like peak. It's so sad. It's like, man, if only they could have been the other way around so that you could just play the peak one and skip the mid one. But unfortunately, I think you do have to play the first one just so that you can experience the second one, because the second one is so much better. But Ace Attorney Investigations 1, man, I really struggle to even remember. This is one game where I do think they kind of lost the charm inherent in Ace Attorney. Like, the characters just aren't that lovable or memorable. The writing's just kind of blah. Like, there's some fun stuff, there's some fun characters here and there, but even like the cases themselves, some stuff that I've said, you know, no matter how much some of the other games can go up and down in quality, like, the cases and the characters are still cool. But Ace Attorney Investigations 1, I really struggle to think of much stuff that I liked about it. The one on the airplane was okay. That case was okay. I like Kay Faraday, you know, she's the new Maya. Every one of these games in this whole, like, series has to have a Maya equivalent. You know, it was Maya in the first 3 games, and then you had Trucy for some of the Phoenix Apollo Justice stuff, and then you got Kay Faraday in the Investigations games. She was fine, she's a fun character. I like playing, honestly, playing as Edgeworth and constantly seeing Edgeworth and Gumshoe and Kay Faraday is, like, hopefully that should be enough to get you through playing Ace Attorney Investigations 1, but just be ready for it to be kind of dull and, like, lame. And then the final case is really frustrating and annoying. It's kind of cool. It was like a cool mystery for sure. Really complicated, but taking down the final villain in this game is so annoying and tiring. The fucking extraterritorial rights guy. Everybody hates that guy. What a shit villain. It was just irritating at a certain point. It didn't feel like we were overcoming something. It just felt like banging your head against a fucking wall. So, I don't, it wasn't even, like, satisfying to, like, take him down in the end. It was just like, oh my god, please kill me. So, not a ton to say about this one, honestly. Some good moments. It's not, like, total dog shit, but I don't know. I want to give this one, like, a 5, maybe. Let's say, I'm honestly not going to recommend it. It's not crucial to... Let's give it, like, a 5.5. 5 just feels wrong. It's funny, we got, like, a gradient going here, even though these games are not in, like, release order. Hold on, let me change the music, because it keeps pausing. Why does it keep doing that? It's on a playlist. It should be... That's what a playlist does. It auto-plays. Fuck you. Sonic, sure. So, not a lot interesting about Ace Attorney Investigations 1. Was Mind Chess in the first game, or I think it was just in the second game, right? Edgeworth, Mind Chess. Yeah, it's only in the second game. We'll get on to Logic Chess. I honestly don't like Logic Chess either, but it's kind of just a mid Ace Attorney game. It is kind of cool. This is like the first Ace Attorney game where you get to actually walk around and control, like, a sprite of your character. That's cool. I think, hopefully, if you're gonna play this one, the novelty of everything should be enough to, like, carry you through it, at least. but it's certainly, I would probably say it's my least favorite Ace Attorney game. I mean, look at these numbers. And then we get on to Ace Attorney Investigations 2, Prosecutor's Gambit. It's kind of peak. It's just like everything about the first game in this series, they just fixed. Tons of great characters, super memorable plot lines. This is one where it really feels like they constructed the plot from the beginning and meant for it to go in a certain direction. And I also think it has some of that Ace Attorney 1 sauce. I always say that, like, the pacing in Ace Attorney 1 is just, like, so good. It's just so... It has such a driving momentum that carries throughout the whole story that just feels so natural and smooth. And I just love it so much, and Ace Attorney Investigations 2 has that same sauce, I think. I won't say, like, every plot detail that happens, but it felt very natural, it felt very well written and interesting, and it still had that goofiness, but it didn't have too much goofiness, which was nice. It was refreshing, because I played this after I played Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice and stuff. Yeah, somebody said there isn't a shitty case in the game, even when they bring back the fucking Big Top Circus. Yeah, it's insane. And yes, the stuff, it also has some of that Ace Attorney 3 sauce in it because of what Bella and I have lovingly dubbed the Gregworth case, where you play the case that was the impetus for the DL6 incident. That shit is so cool. Getting to play as Gregory Edgeworth is awesome. The whole plot line that runs through all of that is super well constructed. I think it fits perfectly into the original trilogy, where necessary. Hold on, let me just get another song. A Theme of Dan, sure, whatever, man. But really, really good, and I just liked it. I thought it worked a lot better. That being said, I think my biggest issue with this game is logic chess. I didn't really find it to be an enjoyable minigame. Basically, all it comes down to is detecting when the person that you're talking to is angry. Like, that's it. Like, that's like that's all the gameplay. That's all you're figuring out when you're playing logic chess, is learning when to shut up and say nothing when the person that you're talking to is pissed off. That's like it. Do not goof on the very last logic chess. That one's fire as fuck. I don't even remember what was there something really cool about it? I don't know. But yeah, somebody said logic chess could have been so cool. I was imagining it to be so cool, but it ended up being really, like, simplistic and, like, stupid, in my opinion. I don't know. But everything else about this game is really, really great. Love all the characters. Somebody said the villains. Yeah, I love the villains. I won't even spoil. You know what? This is a game that I think you should play, so I won't even spoil anything about the final case. But let's just say it was mind-blowing. Maybe I'm overselling it a little bit, but that case was such a... It was just such a culmination of everything that's happened in this game and kind of in the first game, where it was like, oh man, like, every character's fucking plot threads are all just weaving together and intersecting in this really, really cool way. It was so well done, and it never got overwhelming. It never felt like... You know, and sometimes in Dual Destinies, honestly, in the plot, I was just like, what the fuck is happening? I don't know where we are or what we're doing. Okay, I knew where we were, but I don't, like, losing track of certain, like, details of what's going on. But Prosecutor's Gambit, man, they cooked. They kept it, they went hard on it, is what I'll say. Sorry, I'm manually selecting songs. Can we get, like, a long one? Do you like how it was auto-playing earlier and now it's just stopped? I think it's because I scrolled a certain amount down the playlist, and super big playlists on YouTube just glitch out. Fucking sucks. So, anyway. I'm sorry, I don't remember what's going on with the last Oh, right. Wait, no. The final logic chess was with, like, a really stupid person, right? Or something. It was different. I vaguely remember it. Was it, Yeah, I did mention Gregworth. That's, like, the best part of the game, in my opinion. That's, like... Gregworth is, like, maybe the best case in the whole fucking series. Honestly. Probably not, but it's, like, top 5. Was it like you do mental chess with, like, Larry or something, isn't it? Something like that? Whatever. I wasn't a big fan of logic chess for most of it. Even if it maybe had a couple cool moments. But... Oh, right, it was Eustace Winner. Yeah, no, I do remember that. And Eustace was a fun character. I liked Eustace's dad. I didn't really care for... What is her name? Verity Gavel. She was kind of a weird character to me. She won me over by the end, as many Ace Attorney minor villains turned deuteragonists do. But I don't even remember, man. I wish I had reviewed these games right after I'd played them, because I remembered having some compunctions about that character, but I honestly don't even remember what the issue was. I think it was just like... She was a little cartoonish, and the fact that she would say, she has that staff that's like a gavel, and she'll like swing it in front of you and make the gavel noise and say like overruled and stuff, like when you're not even in a trial. That was like, okay, bro, what are we doing here? I also really enjoyed Ace Attorney Investigations 2 was the one where you cross-examine the judge, right? Isn't that part of it? Fuck, actually was, oh, fuck, was that lady? Oh, man, it's been so long since I've played this. I'm trying to remember if stuff was part of 1 or 2. That was in Investigations 1? Okay. But that was a cool, you know, you gotta hand it to him in Investigations 1, then. Hold on. Was, oh, fuck, what is her name? Ace Attorney Investigations characters. I'm not even gonna describe this character to you because I'm so embarrassed that I forget her name. I don't want the answer from chat. Man, I can't even find it. There's a huge list of characters here and she's not in here. Ah. The bitch, the bitch that just like laughs at Edgeworth all the time. She was great. I forget her name, man. She was like one of my favorite characters. Callisto Yu. Yeah, she was awesome. Was she in... She was in the first game. She was like the best part of the first game. Because there was that whole thing, because that was because I was reminded of it, because I was like, she was in that same part where you're talking to the judge. She was one of the best parts of the first game. That was there's a banger character from Ace Attorney Investigations 1. But anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Yeah, that was the best case in Ace Attorney Investigations 1. I agree. And I also like fucking Shin-Na or whatever his name is, Shilong Lang. He was awesome. And the detective, Tyrell Bad. I'm just like looking through the list of characters here and I'm like, oh man, there's so many great characters here. So much good stuff. You know, maybe I was a little too hard on Ace Attorney Investigations 1. I just have so few good memories of it. She's the best part of the first game. It immediately gets worse when she walks off screen in the final case. That's so true. She leaves the room and takes the goodness of the game with her. Yeah. Possibly true, possibly based. Yeah, Detective Bad is so awesome. And that's what I'm talking about, like, if Tyrell Bad existed in Spirit of Justice, his name would have been some fuck-ass shit like solves the clues or something like that. Like, it would be, you just know it would be some dumb shit. I'm so, like, but Tyrell Bad, it's like, that's like just goofy enough of a name while still making him seem like an actual guy. And somebody recognized the Mushihime-sama music. Kind of based, not gonna lie. Okay, I would honestly give this one... You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna retroactively give Ace Attorney 1 a 9.5, because why the fuck did I give it a 9? and I'm going to give this a 9. Investigations 2 is awesome. And I might even say just skip the first one for this one. You're not missing much. You're missing like the origin of Kay Faraday. You're missing the introduction of Shilong Lang. Maybe a couple other things. But you could probably just leap right into Investigations 2. I don't know. And that's it. That's it for today. The stream is done. And I'm going to take a little... I know this is going to sound weird to say. It's time to take a little break from doing reviews. So, sorry if I know I'm probably still edging some people out here, mainly for games contained within this section here. Let's just, give it, a really quick... Just in case you're, super curious what my opinions on these are, let's just do a quick run-through. One Shot, didn't really like it. Undertale Yellow, didn't really like it. Mother 3, fucking peak. Astrobot, amazing. Lisa the Painful, Lisa the Joyful, amazing. Tunic, amazing. Outer Wilds, amazing. Her Story, kind of mid, but I liked it. Had cool ideas. I appreciate it for the unique things that it does, but I didn't really care for it in a lot of ways. Fly Night, kind of mid. Fun with friends, as is anything fun with friends. Unique art style, cool animations. Wasn't the biggest fan, really short. Okay, just in case, because I know some people are probably just burning to hear my takes on that. So, most of them I liked. Lightning Round. Yeah, somebody said, oh, wait, is this the end of the sheet? Kinda. We're close. We're very close. It's gonna be, this section looks long, but a lot of these are PopCap games, which a lot of them are gonna have a similar ranking. That's not to say that I don't like them. There's also a bunch of different versions of games here that I'll be able to talk about a lot of them in one fell swoop, I think. So we're pretty close. I honestly think maybe one or two, at the very least, one more stream of this. At the very most, 2, I think, to get caught up. I might even play some games. I might even do one stream where I get all the PopCap stuff and all the Street Fighter stuff, and then save these for another stream, and then also add a bunch of NES games to kind of pad out that other stream. I don't know if I'll actually do that, but we are very close to being caught up truly, and I think you guys can tell I'm actually locked into doing this. I've talked a lot, I've flabbed my gab in the past about how I'm gonna finish this all up and then not committed to it, but I really would like to actually get this done. They're fun to do, these streams are fun to do, and I think I was underestimating myself. I think I can do these more regularly than I thought. That being said, once we get caught up, I will have no choice but to do them irregularly, because it will all depend on the rate at which I play the video games. So that's cool. But it's good to get it out of the way regardless. And we didn't review a bunch of games today, but we got some really meaty stuff out of the way. Some games that I have a lot to say about. I apologize, I might have had more accurate takes, more stuff to say about these games if I had done this again, literally a year ago when I played these games, but sorry, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. I'm also not going to remember a ton about One Shot, because that was also a year ago. Mother 3 about to be the first 11/10. Anyway, the next stream that I do, I think, will not be reviews. Oh, sorry, let's take the spoiler tag off. I will take a little break from doing this. Sounds weird, I know, right? But I will come back to doing it soon, probably next week during the week. Is Memorial Day this upcoming Monday? I think it is. Yeah. So maybe not on Monday, but maybe on Tuesday, and you can also expect between now and then, Bella and I will probably play the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, which should be a fun stream. So tune in for that. I hope you all had a nice time. I'm gonna go rest my voice, maybe eat some food, I gotta close all these tabs. Let me just read out my tabs. Humongous Entertainment Games Wiki, games in order by release year. Backyard Baseball. Backlogged. Oblique. Definition of the word oblique. Inga Karkul long name. Shilong Lang. Memorial Day 2025. These are the things, and of course, lest we forget, Flintstones SNES. Alright, goodbye everyone. Take care, I love you all.